But joining me now first with reaction to what you just heard, Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. Senator, not a big surprise. Arsonists, terrorists, strapping bombs on themselves. What's your reaction to that? Predictable?
You know, when I think they come forward with such hyperbole, I think people kind of discount them as not serious people. I think they also fundamentally misunderstand the way government works. Congress's job, what we're supposed to do, is oversee the spending. We're in charge of the purse. We're in charge of deciding how it's spent and whether it's spent appropriately. And that means that laws, even previously passed laws, have to be judged on their merits and given funding proportional to their merits. And I think that's exactly what we're doing now. So I don't quite understand what they're talking about when they're calling us anarchist.
Yeah, well, then that's just, by the way, the beginning of it. All right, let me ask this. So the House, they first go defund, then they go delay, then they say, all right, no special exemptions for anybody. And that is just sent back without any real debate in the Senate. And then they say, let's go to conference. Harry Reid says no. The president says he doesn't need to talk to anybody. He'll talk to Iran and Syria and Vladimir Putin. How do we ever get out of this if that's their posture?
Well, you know, there's a couple things that are important here. The president's saying he wants 100% of Obamacare. He wants his way or the highway. We've offered him several compromises, and he continues to reject them. But one of the underreported stories here is 85% of government is being funded. 2/3 of government is Social Security, Medicare. All of that's going on. And then we agreed yesterday, Harry Reid did come forward when we asked him to, and he finally agreed to pay the soldiers. So now we're up to about 85% of the government. Today the House is sending another bill because we do want to fund Veteran Affairs, and we want to stop this nonsense of preventing World War II veterans from seeing the monuments. So we're going to fund all of that tomorrow. Well, actually, they're doing it tonight, and we'll either vote on it later tonight or in the morning. But we're trying to fund government, and they're trying to stop any funding because they think it's a parlor game and they'll win politically. But they are not willing to negotiate, and I think that's an untenable position.
Well, I think it's untenable, and I don't see, as you're pointing out, all the essential items of government are really being funded, and the House is passing funding for the rest of government. So at some point, it seems that this is the Obama-Reid shutdown. That this is what they want. They thought they'd score political points. They must be reading polls, right?
I think without question what's going on, though, is that we've offered many different compromises. I've been acknowledging, as I've talked to you over the last couple of months, that we may not get everything we want. And we tried to get complete defunding. The Democrats said no. But we've now sort of softened our position to say we would just take a little bit of, let's make Obamacare less bad. And they're not even willing to accept any modification, except for that the president's willing to modify it illegally on his own without the approval of Congress. But then any small modification, even delaying the individual mandate, he says absolutely no. And I think that's it's showing a real level of intransigence and this inability to negotiate that I think ultimately the American people are going to say, who's being reasonable here? I think the Republicans are being very reasonable.
Yeah, look, I think they've now given 4 separate proposals. Now they're going to fund the rest of government. How they can be blamed for a government shutdown at this point is beyond me. But you know what? The American people will think what they will. I think the worst outcome, though, for the Republicans in the House at this point, as they have been reasonable and the president totally unreasonable, Reid unreasonable, is to cave. I don't think they should give in at all. And if that means that they're going to sit this out for a month or 2 months or however long the president wants to be arrogant and not talk to anybody, just sit it out. What do you think?
I think every day we should present more of the government we're willing to fund. We're willing to fund the entire government, really, short of Obamacare. And even on Obamacare, we're willing, I think I am at least, to compromise and say, if you won't agree to defunding it, can you at least agree to make it less bad? But we're going to keep every day, we're going to add something new, and we're going to continue funding. If he wants to be against funding the Veterans Affairs and taking care of our wounded soldiers when they come home, if Harry Reid wants to veto that, or the president wants to veto taking care of our veterans, by all means, let him come forward and explain to the American people why he's shutting government down and not allowing veterans to have their benefits.
Now that they've rejected the special exemptions for Congress and big business, they won't even negotiate on that. They want special exemptions. Don't you think it's time that the Republicans in the House, that should be the last offer in terms of they should stop negotiating with themselves, considering they're getting no feedback?
Well, I think the offers from here on out will be that we are willing to fund parts of the government, and we're going to keep offering every day new parts of the government. And if Harry Reid and the president wants to keep the parts